So the big beautiful bill is sliding through the Senate with the help of Republicans, some of the same ones who are up for re-election this year and in the next election cycle, some in 2026. And they're counting on us to be too tired, too disorganized, and too divided to stop them. I feel like this bill is being sold as like a border security and budget fix, but I want to be super duper clear. For those of y'all who don't know, the real intent is to gut funding for essential programs that low and middle class families across America depend on. We're talking about like slashing funding for education, housing, food assistance, healthcare, VA services, all under the guise of fiscal responsibility. This is a super calculated move to help beef up surveillance, law enforcement, and corporate welfare. So it's not about balancing the budget. It's also about punishing the poor and padding the pockets of the powerful, right? And the wildest part to me is that more than 15 Republican senators who are voting yes are either up for re-election this year or in the next election cycle. And if we're not paying attention, we're going to keep letting these folks pass laws that hurt our people, immigrants, black folks, poor folks, and they're going to stay in power while doing it. We need to be super duper clear. Local and federal elections matter, even when the whole system feels rigged. Do not let apathy be the weapon that they use to win. We also need to talk about the recent Supreme Court decision, Casa versus Maryland, that was passed. Now the feds can override sanctuary laws and force local law enforcement to help enforce immigration laws. That means even if the state doesn't want to, okay, they just dismantled the idea of state sovereignty when it's politically convenient. So when people ask me about where does the Second Amendment come in and blah, 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 I want to be super duper clear. Self-defense, the Second Amendment is not just about guns. It's also about power. Okay. When the government is saying we don't care about what your state wants and they're giving agencies like ICE and DHS even more reach, that's where you got to ask yourself, who has the power to protect me and my family? What does real community defense really look like? And are you organized or are you just armed? I don't want to sound like I'm being too militant or all that sort of stuff, because it's not just lone wolf revolutionaries. It's also about networks and readiness and about community. Okay. The Second Amendment doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to use it strategically. Okay. Not just to survive, but also to resist. I don't want to sound like one of those people who's super duper pro J6 and insurrection and all that sort of stuff. That's not at all my intention. Okay. But I do want to say that the intention behind the Second Amendment was to empower the people. Okay. In the instance of a government that, had too much power. So I'm going to share 3 tips, okay, that I believe that folks need to start doing right now to empower themselves in light of everything that's happening, okay? First and foremost, look up which senators are up for re-election and voted for this bill, okay? Especially if you're in states like Arizona, Kansas, Wyoming, Texas, or Florida. Vote them out, okay? Organize against them hard. I posted another creator's post to my story with that information to make it easier if you're not sure who those folks might be and if you're living in one of those states or a state that's super duper red. I also encourage you to start organizing locally, not just protests, but also creating safety pods, mutual aid networks, political education. Learn what powers your local sheriff, school board, or mayor has and challenge that power, okay? We are the people, okay? There's more of us than there are of them, okay? And we hold the power. And number 3, okay? Train and prepare. Learn de-escalation tactics. Learn firearm safety. Learn how to protect your people without depending on a state that's actively failing us, okay? This is not a time to get scared. This is a time to get ready because they're already legislating that they're in control. But we're the ones that they're afraid of. And we need to stop being reactive and start being strategic. Big, beautiful bill or not, we're coming. Okay. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm a firm believer that this next wave, this next revolution is going to be one of love. We need to start building community with the people around us. And the only way we can do that is through love. We need to start loving the people around us. being kind to our neighbors, and creating more opportunities to empower the folks around us, and building bartering systems, sharing our skills, trading, building community gardens, things like that. Uh, uh, I'm going to be putting together like backpack giveaways and know your rights workshops and things like that here in my city. I encourage y'all to start thinking about ways that you can do that in your own cities and states and stuff like that. I'll be sharing out tips on like how you can do that in your own cities and states as well. But again, like this shirt says, okay, change is an act of love, right? I'm a firm believer in that. All right. Please, 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 if you've made it this far, do me a huge favor. Hit all the buttons for me. Like, follow, share, save this video. Drop a comment below if there's something that maybe I missed. Okay. Same kind of scatterbrain. I ain't had no coffee yet. Please forgive me. But yeah, maybe I missed. Okay. If there's something that resonated with you, drop a comment below. All right. Like and follow for more. Peace and love. I'll holler at y'all in the next round.